Welcome to the Story a Day podcast. This is Julie Duffy from storyaday.org, encouraging you to be a writer every day, not someday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from the Story a Day podcast here. I've been in conversation with so many of you recently because we're coming up to the Story a Day May challenge, and I've been hearing from you and everybody's excited and a little bit nervous. So I want to talk today about a couple of things that relate to the Story a Day May challenge, but also just relate to your journey as a writer. So many of you have told me that your secret dream, not so secret, but your secret dream really is to do something with your writing that is meaningful. And that might be pursuing a publication deal. That might be just spreading yourself out into the world, getting your writing out there. And the thing that I want to talk about, which seems obvious, but sometimes we forget, is that if you want to get published, that is a professional gig. That's work. And it doesn't just happen. And I don't mean that in any way to negate the effort that you're putting in or the emotion that you've already put into your writing. But if you have a dream of publishing, there's a few things that have to happen. You have to take it seriously. You have to work at it. That doesn't mean it can't be playful, but you do have to work at it. And you have to figure out a way of building a writing practice that works for you and that is consistent-ish and that is more than just wishful thinking. We are very emotional creatures generally as creative writers, as creative people, and there can be a tendency to let our emotions run riot, which is great in the writing, but on the practice and business side, we need ways to marshal our emotions. So let's talk about a few of those. First of all, I want to tell you a story about me coming to work on this podcast today. It struck me as I scurried around the house trying to get into the right frame of mind and get my thoughts together on a day when there are other people in the house. I work from home, they do not. And this seems really obvious, especially for somebody who has been working from home for a long time. It should be more obvious to me. But now I was thinking about it this morning, and whenever my husband saw me today, he had something interesting to tell me, which was great, except that I was in public spaces in the house trying to get my thoughts in order for this podcast. And this is not his workplace. This is his relaxation place. This is his play place. This is his place of respite from work. So I realized I really had to make a transition, and it had to be a physical one. So I had to go away. I couldn't prepare for this podcast being anywhere else but right here where I am recording it, because it wasn't fair to him and it wasn't fair to me. So I came in here and I got myself all ready, and I did that mental commute from my life outside that door to my life right here. Now, I'm very fortunate. I have this room, which is mine, and I can retreat to it. You may not have that. You may have a corner of a room. You may have a massive pair of headphones that you put on to signal to people that you're in work mode. But whatever you have, it's a physical space is great, but even with the physical space, the transition to your writing life has to happen inside. And we all need to give ourselves a moment. It would be lovely if we always had 35 minutes, 40 minutes to do our morning pages, our Julia Cameron free writing, getting into the flow of becoming a writer. But we don't always have that. We don't always have a free 90 minutes to carve out for writing, which coincides with our most energetic, most creative time of day. A lot of the time we're just jamming the writing in wherever we can. And yeah, we're all jealous of Neil Gaiman and Chuck Wendig with their sheds in the wood, and we're all jealous of the dead white guys with their libraries and their housekeepers and their wives who just took care of life for them. But the truth is, the majority of books that have been written probably in the last 50 years, probably ever, have been written by people who are fitting their writing in around the margins. It can be done. I have a theory that lawyers so often become successful writers because Not only are they trained to tell stories for their job, that's what their training is, especially if they're court lawyers. They're trained to create a story. They're also trained for many years to do a lot of hard intellectual work in difficult circumstances. They have to read a lot of stuff and they have to write a lot of stuff that they aren't particularly emotionally connected to, just so that they don't waste the money they're spending attending law school. So they develop work habits that are disconnected from their emotional reaction to the work they're doing. And so they already have the habit of getting to the desk, putting in the work, and then when you layer on the emotions of writing something that matters to you, I think it becomes, I'm not saying lawyers' work doesn't matter to them, but there's a difference between us as untrained wordsmiths trying to fit in time around our lives to do work that really matters to us, that's really emotional, and someone who's actually been trained for that. It's one of the reasons I think people go and do creative writing programs and MFAs, but not all of us have had the opportunity or the funds or the time to do that. And so we have to take what we know about our work ethic in other areas of life and treat this a little bit like that. So if you're late for your job in a shop, speaking from experience, and you run in at the last minute, there's a period of transition where you are probably not giving the best customer service because your mind is still half on all the stuff you didn't get done at home and how annoying it was when the bus drove away when you were just almost at the bus stop, and how all those tourists you were trying to get through on the way to the shop, I worked in Edinburgh during the Fringe, got in your way, and like for the first 10, 15 minutes, half an hour of work at the store, you're not in the zone, you're not really mentally there. And the same's true for our writing. But as I say, we don't always have that half hour to make the transition. It'd be nice if we did, but there are ways that there are rituals you can develop, but you have to be, I think, intentional about it. Things always go better when we're intentional about them. So if you are going to be writing during Story A Day May, you're writing a lot. The good side of that is that writing every day makes it actually easier, because as you go through your life, your brain is subconsciously looking for ideas every day. Even though you have written your story today, your brain's going, I gotta write another one tomorrow, gotta write, ooh, that's an interesting thing that person just said, and ooh, she could be a character, and ooh, what if, and you start making connections all the time when you're actually committed to writing a story a day in May. It's a wonderful outburst of creativity. It's also a time crunch. So developing some rituals and allowing yourself a moment or two, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, where you can just transition from the person out there or the person on the sofa to the person on the sofa with a laptop and big headphones writing a story. And so things like listening to the same music, just even like taking that breath and repeating to yourself, I'm writing now. I think we're all more familiar with meditation practices these days than we were 20 years ago, or most of us. So those breathing and mindfulness and visualization exercises are great. Some people light a candle, some people put on a hat, acknowledging that there is a moment between running around in your daily life and getting your head in the right space to be creative and relaxed and playful in your work is really important. Taking on a challenge like Story A Day May is ideal because it gives you a concentrated period of time to try out a bunch of this stuff, to figure out how do you go from your everyday life to a writing mode without the perfect circumstances. One of the things that can help is to do it in community and have accountability. That's built into the challenge. And if I haven't mentioned it yet and you're not signed up for Story A Day May yet, come over to storyaday.org/sign up, and we'll be doing this all again in September. So if you're listening to this after May is finished, just sign up anyway and I'll get you into the next challenge. Okay, the reasons for doing the challenge are productivity. When we write a lot, we end up writing better. I don't know if you're familiar, I've talked about this here before, I'm sure everyone's heard about this. There was a challenge that psychologists did, and they told a bunch of pottery students to make pots, and they divided the class in half, and they told one half that they would get marks for the quantity of pots that they made. So they were to make as many pots as possible by the end of the day and by the end of the course, and that's how they would be graded. They told the other group that they were going to be graded on the quality of their pots, so they could take their time, they could make this beautiful work of art, and they would be graded on the quality. Of course, when they got to the end of the study, what they discovered was that the people who made a ton of pots ended up making some pots that were really good. The people who made one pot, who took their time and really worried and obsessed about it, tended not to make pots that were as good. Now, obviously, the people who were making a ton of pots made some real fiascos, which is actually the Italian for flask, and it comes from the Venetian Murano glassworks, and the apprentices would actually make tons and tons of flasks, and the ones that went wrong were put up on a shelf for them to learn from. And so a fiasco became this word that we associate with something going horribly wrong, because it was apprentices' work where they were just making a ton of things. They were making a ton of mistakes as fast as they could so that they could get good. That's what Story A Day May is all about. Now, I didn't know any of these stories before I started Story A Day May, but it just makes sense as humans. And of course, now I've found these stories, I feel incredibly smug. So please come and join us and write lots of stories, make lots of pots, have some fiascos. But one of the ways to keep going, because it's hard to keep going when you're throwing your fiascos, is to be with other people. Participate in the challenge by coming to the blog or signing up for the emails, looking at the prompts. You can disregard the prompt and write your own story, or you can write to the prompts. It can be really surprising what comes out of the prompts when you're writing to them every day, but you don't have to. They are there to help you if they help you. If you've got a better idea, run with it. So you come, you work on your story every day, and you're building in the practice of getting to your desk. You're building in your practice of writing no matter what. And then you come back to the blog and do your victory dance. And your victory dance is simply leaving a comment on the blog saying, I did it. Or even, I did not finish my story today, or I completely forgot to get to my story today. And you just put a cap on the end of the day and say, okay, this is how day 14 went. Tomorrow, I'm planning on writing. And just keep moving. So the victory dance is a really important part of the challenge, because it is you celebrating whatever you did. It's you forgiving yourself for whatever you didn't do. And it's you representing. You're in community with other people. You're inspiring other people to do their thing. You're letting people know that it's okay to be flawed. You're showing off your fiascos for other people to learn from. And you are learning to forgive yourself, have a sense of humor, laugh at yourself a little bit. The number of times I've seen comments from people who are like, I wrote something today, I don't like it, but I wrote. And then these people are the people who end up sticking around, the people I get to know over the years, the people who end up telling me about stories that they've had published, because they're not afraid to write something that they don't love. That is a huge moment in a writer's life. Nobody loves it. Nobody likes writing stuff that they don't love. But work is not all about joy. It's not all about that moment of flow, right? Your paid work isn't like that. Sometimes you enjoy it. A lot of times you don't. If you want writing to be a serious thing for you, there are going to be times when it doesn't feel great, and you show up anyway, and then that feels great. It's like going to the gym. You pick your pain. You can be uncomfortable because you are not strong and not fit and you can't do the things you want to do, or you can go to the gym and have pain because it's really difficult to lift those weights and your muscles are sore the next day, and then you feel good, right? Things that are good for us are not fun 100% of the time, and writing is no different. Please get rid of this idea that writing is this joyful, ethereal, easy process. It's not, but it's rewarding, and sometimes it feels like flying. Sometimes it feels like magic, and those moments are worth working towards. Story a Day May will give you a chance to practice that. And lastly, it's really important to do that victory dance, to show up in the community, because this is hard and it's hard to do alone. And we are so in our heads as writers that we can think through anything, and sometimes just having a back and forth with someone else where they either tell you, that's really impressive, you've actually written for 14 days straight, don't sell yourself short. So hearing somebody else say that is so much more powerful than being in our heads and saying, yeah, I didn't write on day 12 though. You're like, no, okay, let's, sometimes we need to hear external voices reflecting back at us what we're actually achieving. And sometimes someone will say something to you that's a craft thing. I talked last week about how somebody asked me a single question about my work in progress, which unlocked the whole thing for me. And I've been writing that back on that work again, which had been stalled for a while. So from one question from somebody else, writing can be a solitary act. Being a writer really can't. You're making it so much harder. I have built the Story a Day community. You can come and hang out, leave comments on the blog, get to know some of the other people who are writing in the challenge, commit to showing up every day. The other option I have for you, if you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to stop being sporadic, stop starting and stopping, if you really want to take this seriously and plunge into your writing in the life that you're living right now, not when you've got time to take a 6-week retreat, not when you've got the money for an MFA, but right now, you want to hang out with a bunch of people who are serious about their writing, not that serious about themselves. Please do consider joining us in the Story a Day Superstars, which is open for registration right now. You can find a link in the show notes or come over to the website and click on the button at the top that says Superstars and you can find out more. It's open for registration now so that we can get a new cohort of people in, get them settled, and then we spend the year together doing writing dates, having hangouts, doing workshops together. It's not a huge commitment of time. It's time that you would be taking for writing. And I've created a container that helps you actually write when you want to write. You come to a writing sprint and there are other people on the screen. I'm looking at my other screen here. And when that happens, you just feel a certain obligation not to be surfing social media, which you might do if you're alone in your room. And you feel a certain obligation not to get up and go to the fridge, which you might do if you were on there's a very strong temptation to get up from your desk when the writing gets hard. And being in writing dates with other people, you feel like, oh, they're not watching you, but you feel obligated by the group. This is the good type of peer pressure. That's what the Superstars group is all about. It has been the group where I've seen people make the fastest and most significant progress, both in terms of getting published and in terms of understanding themselves as a writer, developing writing practices. And I'm super excited to be welcoming a bunch of new people in at the moment. And I really hope that you'll be one of them, because if you're listening to this, I can tell that you're serious about your writing. And if you're trying to do it alone, you're just making it so much harder. And we would love to have you as part of the group. So come over, find out more about Superstars if that's right for you. If you're also want to join in the challenge, that's great. If you're not sure about any of this and you want to dip your toe in the water with the challenge, it's more of a deep dive off the high diving board, but it's a warm pool that you're jumping into. That sounds terrible. I think I might edit this. No, anyway, those are my 2 invitations for you for this coming month. Really want you to think about taking your writing seriously, taking yourself not too seriously. Take advantage of the challenge, take advantage of the community. If you're ready to stop dabbling, paddling in the shallow end, please consider joining us in Superstars. It won't be open again for a while, so this is your moment. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk to you. And let's go do this. Let's get some writing done. Keep writing. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week. And of course, keep writing. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, Have a great creative week. And of course, keep writing.